In this video, we're going to talk about the downfall of Meta and why TikTok's being banned. So, as you know, I'm in Switzerland again. Haven't made a video in a little while. I had to get my passport from LA. So I went from Las Vegas to LA to pick up my passport. This was on Monday. I had my grandpa passed away. So that's why I haven't uploaded. So I had to get my passport on Tuesday, flew out Wednesday, then was here on Thursday, and now it's Friday. Today's the funeral. I'm going to be back on Thursday next week. So it was like a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I wanted to make a video about Meta because Mark Zuckerberg is on this tour now of him basically trying to become likable again. So he went on Joe Rogan and he was like, you know what? Um, I'm trying to do MMA. I'm talking about all this other stuff where he's like, hey, you know, we want to get to where Meta's going to be super profitable and people come back. So I looked at some stats, and this is really, really interesting because Meta spent a shit ton of money trying to get TikTok banned. And now you're like, why is a huge, huge company like Meta so invested in a TikTok ban? So Meta spent around $7.6 million in lobbying efforts. Because in the US, and this is absolutely great because I'm on TikTok, I like the platform. A lot of people on TikTok are like, I'm not going to do nothing. So what do? They're going to go either to Instagram, YouTube, or something else. But this time they went to another app called Note, and that is where you talk to China, where it's a Chinese app. And the funny part is that there's the most amazing conversations going on between Americans and Chinese. And this is what the government has been so afraid of. That actually Americans are starting to talk to Chinese people, and Chinese people talk to Americans, and they're saying, you know what, we're both in the same boat. We both have government that lies to us, just in different ways. And so what they're saying is basically America's run like a corporation, and they have some really, really valid points. And so, why does Mark Zuckerberg want to fund the TikTok ban? Because if you fund the TikTok ban, you had a huge hope that everybody's going to go back to Meta and they're going to increase profitability, show more ads, and do all this kind of stuff. What's actually really, really disgusting. So when you look at who was one of the top traded stocks of Meta, was like top 10 traded stocks, and they spent so much money lobbying all these people. So when you're here in Switzerland, you know that this is somewhat of a true democracy, and we're going to go over some stuff why this cannot happen in Switzerland and what Switzerland's done really, really right. So Switzerland has a true democracy, and what a true democracy means is that anybody can propose laws. Everybody can propose laws and make them. So what does it require? I have it here on the screen, right? So the government, parliament, or citizens can draw up a law and say, you know what, on Taco Tuesday, I want that to be a national holiday. So then it will go to parliament, they will look at it, and the government writes a draft or asks experts from each state and publicize their feedback. So then the parliament votes on it, and the council says, you know, okay, we can discuss it, we can make that happen. All of a sudden, we could say, you know what, this is a great law or this is a bad law. And so then you can request signatures, right? So what this is basically a true democracy. So you can actually go out and say, you know what, I don't like that that they're doing parking, they're doing a park over there, that they're doing this, and you can basically collect signatures, and you need to get 50,000 signatures in 100 days, and you can veto any law that they pass. So in the US, that would have been probably, you need 1 million signatures or 100,000 or 500,000 in 100 days to make sure that this legislative bill that they've rushed through tonight won't get passed. So they have 50 days to do that, or 100 days to do that, and they need all these signatures. So then every law basically has to go through the people. So I think there's like 4 quarters that they say, hey, you know, these are the laws that are going to go into effect. And if there's a vote, the law passes only if most people agree. So then there's like, hey, there's state laws. So then the state majority needs to agree. And then there's federal laws where 2/3 of all the states need to agree on. And so every person has the right in Switzerland, every Swiss citizen has the right to veto any law. You just need to go out there and you can do it. So If citizens do not agree with a law passed by parliament, they can organize a public vote to decide whether the law should be accepted or rejected. To do this, you need to collect 50,000 valid signatures in 100 days after the law is published to start the process of a referendum. If enough signatures are collected, a nationwide vote is held. The majority of the voter must approve the law for in order to take effect. If there's not enough signatures collected, the law automatically goes into effect as planned. So everybody can make constitutional laws, and everybody can say, you know what, I don't like it, and you can go out and you can do it yourself. So obviously you need campaign money, and you need to have interest, and you can kind of do it with your parties and kind of like that way. But it's a true democracy, because if there's people that are not liking it, you can veto it, and you can then say, hey, you know what, this isn't a great law, like this TikTok thing, and say it is not good for us, so let's sign the bill, and then it will be put up to the people, and the people can vote on the laws. And in the US, the problem that I see is that there's so many lobbyists, so many corrupt politicians, that they say, hey, you know, oh, you're gonna get a backdoor deal and get some money, and then they pass the laws. And here you can say, you know what, this isn't right, let's veto it, and everybody can start it, everybody can do it, and you can get involved in your local politics, and the barrier of entry into politics is way, way smaller, and anybody can kind of do it. So when I'm looking at all these people here that are like, hey, you know, we don't like it, then you can make your own laws. You can say, hey, we do not want, I don't know, Taco Tuesday anymore, and you can say, we're gonna strike it down. And so when Meta and Zuckerberg goes on these Joe Rogan platforms to kind of polish his brand, to kind of get to a feeling where he's like, you know what, I want way more public approval, I want to do all these things, so people jump back onto Meta and starts lobbying with $7.5 million, you can buy a lot of votes, right? And so just pure corruption. And when you're big enough like that, you can bully other players. So the thing is that these people on Red this Chinese app are saying that the whole US is run like a big giant corporation, and they're not wrong. Because when you're a big giant corporation, you bully smaller competitors. And so there's so many people that use TikTok, and guess who's losing out on the ad revenue? The ad revenue is lost from all that money that goes into TikTok. And Meta, I think, had the option to buy it, but people didn't. Zuckerberg didn't do it. And so people were like, we're just staying on TikTok. And a lot of people said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go against Meta, and we're gonna start deleting accounts. And that's where you really hurt them, because active users is all they care about. Because the more active users, the more people can see the ad, the more money they make. But the less money they make, the less users there are, right? So it's like a catch 2022. And if you're not paying for Meta, or you're not paying to be verified, you are essentially the product, and advertisers are like, let me get those eyeballs, let me get those people in, and let's sell them something. So super, super, super crazy concept when you think about it. But now, as Meta, you have a problem. It's like, hey, there's other companies that are doing it way, way better. And when you listen to the podcast of Joe Rogan, what he said was that, the FBI came knocking and said, we're gonna have to take posts down and do all this other stuff. So they weaponized, I don't know which administration was that, they weaponized the FBI and all these other intelligence agencies to say, you know what, we gotta come after you if you don't take these things down. And so now Facebook's like, oh shit, we need to change some stuff around. And they got rid of a whole bunch of things, but it's absolutely detrimental for you as a consumer, right? Because when you have government interfering in social media platforms, then it's like, okay, free speech is out the door, and your expression of humor is interpretation, right? So when you're going to post something and people say, you know what, this isn't going to be great, you need to take it down, and the government interferes in your posts, in your things, it's not creative, it's not what social media should be all about. And TikTok didn't really do that, and so now they're like, you know what, we need to start shutting it down. And how do you shut something down in the US? You spend money in Congress, and you go lobby, and you just go out and you just get them shut down. So absolutely crazy. Yeah, so for these people that said, oh, with all these with these Palisades fire in California, that said we should really have like a national insurance policy, or we should have it state run. Oh my gosh, the amount of mismanagement in that is going to be insane. The amount of fraud is just going to go through the roof. If you're going to say, you know what, we're just going to not do nothing and just have it state run, oh my gosh, you're going to be in trouble, because fraud will just take off like you wouldn't believe. And yeah, so that is it for that part of the video. Now a little bit what's going on here. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm back. You see, this is the weather that you're dealing with in Switzerland. It's just absolutely crazy. Construction like everywhere. Let me show this graffiti. It's not the Switzerland that I grew up in. It's now like high towers, high rises. It's like city urban living. And so it's kind of crazy. Having my grandpa's funeral today. So yeah, gonna be back in the US on next Thursday. Yeah, have that coming. So got some good content to make when I'm back. But yeah, and this is one reason why I left Switzerland. It's just like this for months. You got to go up high in the mountains to get some sunlight, but this is how it mostly is. It rains, it snows, and it's like this for months on end. And it just gets depressing. It's cold. You're just like, oh, it's like, why am I here? I'm tired. I don't want to do this no more. So yeah, construction everywhere. No parking on the streets. Yeah, so this is just what people in Switzerland are dealing with now. And it's just all over. It's like no sunlight, rain, snow. Yeah, great during summer times though. Green, nice. But man, during wintertime, it's like months on end, just like this. So yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank God I left, because I'm a warm body. I could live around the equator and just be as happy as I can be. One temperature, up in the 80s, 90s year round, wouldn't be a bad day at all. But this, hands are cold, gotta wear jackets. Every time you go into a building, you gotta take the jackets off. You get spoiled. Once you live in a place where it's like nice year round, you get spoiled. You get used to it, you get spoiled, and yeah, it's just cold, right? So yeah, a few more days till Donald Trump's gonna get inaugurated. It's gonna be really, really interesting, because he's gonna do the TikTok ban, right? He's gonna be the one that's gonna be in charge of, are we gonna do the ban or are we not gonna do the ban? So yeah, got some crazy stuff going, because a lot of small businesses do rely on TikTok. So yeah, it is crazy. And my small business also somewhat relies on TikTok, because that's where we get leads from. That's where we get a bunch of inbound people coming in about being frustrated job seekers. So that would definitely hurt my business. And I'm gonna tell you guys how it's gonna turn out if they're gonna ban it, because yeah, YouTube isn't great for everything. If you're like gonna go on YouTube and just say, hey, I'm gonna start posting here, follow us, it's gonna be interesting, because it took quite some time to get here. So it's gonna be interesting to see where people migrate to. Are they gonna use the red note? Because like I said before, that red note is very, very interesting, the red note app, because having conversations with Chinese people is so interesting, because all these people that I've seen, or that I've seen in the comment section on this apps are actually really, really nice. And so the US portraying China as like, this is the number one adversary. We're gonna go to war against China at one point. And you get to talk to them, and you're like, hey, these aren't bad people. They're just trying to make a living. They're just actually really kind. So then it's going to be hard to justify going to war, because of like, oh, they're so bad, when you actually be like, not my impression of it. And that's going to be the issue, right? It's going to be like, oh my gosh, we can't do it, because all these people are going to be like, nah, public opinion isn't there. So you can only go to war when public opinion approves it and says, yes, we have to do this. Because if public opinion doesn't approve and they say, you know what, this isn't right, then you're going to have a situation where it's going to be the government against its own people, and that's not a spot where anybody kind of wants to go. But yeah, a lot of construction going on here too. Last time I was around here, wasn't that much. So if you're not seeing your comment, don't be mad at me. I didn't delete him, I promise. But yeah, it is just how Switzerland does things. So yeah, let me know what you think about all this ban and this Zuckerberg trying to revamp the image of Meta, trying to see what's going on. Because I made a post about it a year or so ago, and I said, this is what's gonna happen, and people were like, no, this is never gonna happen. And yeah, they should ban it because of Chinese influences. They already got all the information. They can just go to Meta and buy it. Why worry about it? Because they can't control it. They can't control what you're gonna see and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, going to be interesting, I would say. So yeah, look at how much construction there is. Last time, they're still doing it. They're still doing construction. You still see the cranes. I think it was last time I was here a few months ago, and they were still doing construction on there. I don't know, in the US they probably finished it, but here they do it differently. I don't know what they're doing. It takes a long time to get permits. So please, if you haven't liked and subscribe, I try to upload all the time, but family stuff, travel made it hard to do. So I'll see you in the next one.